Hello and welcome to my gardening channel. Today is a very short video entitled "There's Always Room for Another Cherry Tree." As you may know, cherries are my absolute favourites in the garden, and I think I managed to find a very little space here for this little beauty. Well, I say little beauty, it's actually going to be probably 12 to 15 foot tall when she's eventually fully grown. In fact, she's going to be very similar to the Stella cherry tree that I have not too far away from where I'm going to plant this one. But the purpose of this video really is to just show you what kind of quality you can get from your local garden centre. I do love sending off for trees, and I will send off to lots of different nurseries. I particularly like Blackmore Nurseries and Pomona Fruits, which are a great local nursery close to where I live in Essex. But sometimes there's no substitute for just going along to your local garden centre, and it's amazing. Sometimes you can get some really large trees for a really good price. This particular tree I purchased today was £35, and I would imagine it's probably about 6 to 7 foot tall already, so I'm really pleased with that. It's actually a cherry variety Sunburst, so I'll just show you the label. It's a very similar cherry in the same pollination group as the Stella cherry I showed you the other day, and also the variety called Summer Sun, which I also have. But actually the pollination group is only really relevant if you have varieties of cherries which are not self-pollinate, self-fertile, and in fact this particular tree is self-fertile, so you know that it doesn't really matter in this situation. But it's an absolutely fantastic tree, and it cost me £35, which I'm absolutely thrilled with. And as I say, it will be, after 20 years, 20 foot tall, in fact it says, so a bit taller than I actually thought, but never mind, it doesn't matter. It's going to grow into a wonderful tree in full sun, and later this evening I'm going to be planting this tree. You want to make sure that you plant it with some good rhizome, which is you put down underneath the tree, which will help it form some really good roots. But other than that, not much to do. Otherwise, keep it watered. And as I say, these cherries really are very, very easy to grow. They need minimal pruning. The only thing you will have to watch for is, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, certainly in Essex, we have had quite a problem with a fly that seems to, well, from what I understand, it originated, I believe, over in America, but it is quite nasty, and it tends to overwinter in the soil underneath the tree and then climb up when the actual fruit is setting, and makes its home by boring into the tree and then into the fruit, and then basically a little maggot will emerge and the life cycle continues. But what we've done this year is we've put up some little yellow traps which are attracting a lot of these flies, and we haven't had a problem so far this year. So I will be adding some of these little attractants to this tree. Probably not at the moment. It is carrying a very small crop, and I think we will be eating that shortly, as you can see down here. But it is an absolutely fantastic tree, and hopefully it will be in position for many years to come. I'll show you the centre of it. It goes right up there. And the great thing about this tree is, and all cherry trees actually, is that they're wonderful for birds. Birds can sit on them, find shelter, they can eat the cherries if you don't mind sharing them, and above all you get a little bit of privacy in your garden, especially around the edge of your fencing area. So and actually most of our neighbours absolutely love to see these cherries, and I'm sure they have a few when they just happen to lean over the fence, so they are really, really lovely for screening as well as everything else. The only thing you have to be aware of is that the dessert cherries are in need of full sun. You just can't plant them on the kind of wall where morellos grow. But other than that, if you put them in somewhere sunny, give them a good start with some good rhizome in under the roots, you will find that you have a fantastic tree for years and years to come that really will need minimal pruning. The thing about the dessert cherries is they do form quite a lot of branches, but nowhere near as many as the morello cherries do. so they really don't need a whole lot of pruning at all. So there's my new tree. I'm sure my husband would say I've got no room, but I'm quite thrilled. And this evening, Cherry Sunburst will be finding a home in the garden. And just before we go, I'll just span round here and show you the morello cherries, which are coming out very, very slowly. These are much later in the season than the dessert cherries, but even so, we've had such a lot of warm weather that you can see they're just starting to fruit. Morello cherries fruit on last year's wood, last year's growth, so you tend to prune them after they've fruited, and then that will give the tree plenty of time to produce more growth, which will then become next year's fruits. But you can see from here the branches are much more intricate. There's a lot more little fretwork of branches than the others, and they will tolerate a north-facing wall aspect, which is what these are on. They're all, I've got 3 of these trees, and they're all in pretty much the shade, but it doesn't matter. They're just coming into fruit. As you can see, there are absolutely hundreds. I mean, it's going to keep me busy for hours. But there's the first little red one, just there. So there we are. Happy days, more cherry trees. Summer's coming.